Hello, this is the Happy Families podcast. The kids just, they love to invite us into their stuff, their big arguments, their challenges, all the awkward, annoying difficulties. And all too often, most of the time, we are more than happy to step into their mess because we want to fix things. We want to get things right. We want to correct them. We want to make it all better. But I don't think we should. In fact, I think we should often do the opposite. I'm a big believer, a really big believer, in doing precisely and exactly the opposite to what we often want to do as parents because we get better outcomes. How does that work? Why would I say it? After the break, we talk about how we don't have to accept every invitation our children give us. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every single day. It's Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson, the parents of 6 children who have invited us, Kylie, into more arguments than I can count, and we keep taking the bait again and again and again. I wrote something recently. I want to share it with you. Interrupt me and discuss as needed, but I think that this is a really nice setup for the conversation today. A few nights ago, I wrote, one of our children, invited me to an argument. It wasn't a formal invitation with a calligraphy written card in an envelope. Far more informal, she started it with a sharp tongue, a rude comment. She was ready and raring to go. And I almost accepted the invitation. Let's go with the 2 words on the tip of my tongue. Kids are experts at inviting us into conflict.
And the challenge is, doesn't it just feel good to let go sometimes? To not have to be in control of every moment?
Do you mean like to let go and just yell and shout?
Yes!
Right. It does. You've just reminded me of a really great quote that I use in one of my parenting presentations. I've got a presentation that's called The Screaming Spiral. And in there, I have a big discussion about anger and how anger works. And like anger is actually deliciously, what's the word? Tasty? Would that be the right word?
Yeah, I was literally having a conversation with a handful of parents the other night, and one of them said to me, she said, but doesn't it just feel good to get angry? Every now and again, it's just so nice to let it go and just have a good scream.
This is the quote from Frederick Buechner. He said, of the 7 deadly sins, anger is possibly the most fun. To lick your wounds, to smack your lips over grievances long past, to roll over your tongue the prospect of bitter confrontations still to come, to savour to the last toothsome morsel both the pain you are given and the pain you are giving back. In many ways, it is a feast fit for a king. Isn't that a great quote? I should use that in an article sometime. That's a really good one. And so you're right. The problem is we say this on the pod all the time, and we need this reminder constantly. High emotions equals low intelligence. I was in an interview recently about the boys' book, and I said to somebody, you can't lecture your child, you can't lecture your son into being a better man. You can only love him into being a better man.
Well, and as we're talking, I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever said anything in anger and come away and given myself a pat on the back for it.
Nailed it, Kylie.
It feels really good in the moment, and afterwards there's just all of that self-loathing and berating that I wish I could have just kept my mouth shut. I wish I could have just said things differently.
But the thing is, they roll their eyes at you, or they slam the door, or they stomp their feet, or they just say, you're the most unfair parent ever, I hate you. They say that sort of stuff to you. And our instinct, especially since we're tired and we're overstretched and we're just kind of done with it, which is like most of the time, is to just accept the invitation into the argument, to say, let's go. If that's what you really think, let me say all the stuff that I've been waiting to say to you as well. I remember one time I lost it at my mum. I was a teenager, and she asked me to do something, hang out the washing, I think. And I'm like, I'm always hanging out the washing for you. You always ask me to do this. Is not fair. And I went off, and mum just turned herself inside out as she told me about all the things that she does for me, like who's the giver, who's the taker here. And it always stuck with me. But I can't imagine that she walked away from it going, I got that right. I've really taught him a lesson. Like, that was so right.
So what did you say next?
Well, after the break, let's talk about the solution. How do we politely refuse the invitation to the argument? How do we let our children know that we do not have to attend every argument that we're invited to? That's next. We're back. This is the Happy Families podcast. Thanks so much for listening. If you're finding the podcast helpful, please share it with a friend, a neighbour, maybe your sister-in-law who's having a hard time with her kids. I don't know what it is about sisters-in-law, but they could always do with this podcast. So kids invite you to an argument. You can actually RSVP no.
I like it.
You can just take a rain check.
But as you're saying that, I'm also thinking, yeah, but how do I do that?
It's called self-regulation.
How do I do that?
So this is what I did, and it felt amazing. And I wrote about this in the same article that I was writing. What I basically did was I looked at our daughter with soft eyes. That is absolutely necessary, soft eyes. And then I very quietly said,
do you practice soft eyes?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, often when I'm looking at you. Yeah. And I just said, we'll chat about this later. And I said it really kindly, really softly, really clearly, affirmatively. There's no arguments here. We'll chat about this later. And as I turned and walked away, she was seething. She was ready for the argument. She wanted the fight. There was no self-righteousness about it. It wasn't like a smug response. I just looked at her and quietly said, I love you, kiddo. Just a quiet reassurance. Things aren't great, but we've got this.
It's amazing how quickly you can diffuse a situation when you don't add fuel to the fire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Fight fire with fire, whole earth gets scorched. So don't add fire to the fire. Let's put the fire out instead. And the thing about problems, I've said this on the podcast before, if they're serious, they're still going to be here tomorrow. You can come back to the problem when the temperature has dropped and both of you are in a better place to talk. And if it's not that big of a problem, you say, I love you, you walk away, you let your child know, we'll talk about this later. But you might get to later and realize,
doesn't even talk about it.
Yeah, we don't need to address this. It was a small, in-the-moment thing, which again highlights just how unnecessary it is to attend every argument we're invited to, because so many of them really don't matter. The invitation is not compulsory. You don't have to RSVP. Yes.
So I've had a handful of friends come to me and say that when they've been in that situation and they've done exactly what you've said, the child in question just wants a fight.
Yes. Yeah, we've been there.
They just want to get this off their chest. And no matter what they do, the child follows them and screams and yells and says all kinds of things. How do you get to a point where you've diffused it enough that you can both kind of, go back to your corners, I guess?
Whenever I hear a question like this, I'm reminded of the model that Stephen Covey came up with in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know that he's leveraged this from other places and really kind of turned it into something bigger than it originally was. He's basically arguing that there's a stimulus and there's a response, and in between the stimulus and the response, there is the freedom to choose. And we have these 4 unique human endowments or gifts that allow us to creatively find ways to choose our response without having to simply react and snap back. Like if you tease a dog, its instant reaction is to maybe snap at you. But as humans, we have these 4 capacities that dogs don't have. The first one is self-awareness. We can be aware that we're starting to get a bit hot under the collar, that it's starting to get us a bit steamed up. The second one is imagination. We can start to think of all the different ways that we could respond to this pesky invitation that doesn't seem to want to go away. Like this child is now nagging at us. They're pulling on our legs. They're not letting us get away so that we can get the space that we need. And our imagination can take us everywhere from the flying karate kick to the sternum. Which, of course, I would never encourage because we don't encourage violence in any way, shape or form. But our imagination might still take us there through to the different ways that we can engage with them or get away from them in order to achieve a better outcome. The third unique human capacity is that we have conscience. We have the ability to work out what right is and what wrong is, which is why if our self-awareness makes us go, oh yeah, I'm starting to get really steamed up and this is annoying me, and our imagination says flying karate kick, our conscience steps in and says, that's not going to work. That's not the right thing to do. And our fourth thing is independent will or agency. That is, we have the capacity to make up our mind how we will respond. And by making the space between the stimulus and the response larger, we make better decisions. I've spoken to so many parents who say, I just imagine, Justin, that you're in the room watching me. And I'm always a better parent as a result, which makes me feel really bad. Like maybe I'm some harsh person frowning at people in the corner. But the idea basically is when you've got an audience.
I don't think it matters who's in the room.
No, it could be anyone.
Yeah, it's just when somebody else is there, you kind of are on your best behaviour. You're trying the hardest to put your best foot forward.
More than that, though, you slow it down. You think differently. And so that the simple response that I would have to a parent who's saying that, and I know exactly who you're talking about, we've experienced some of those conversations, is I just slow it down. And literally, I've done this with our kids. I look at my child with all the kindness and softness in the world and say, you're really upset about this and you really want to have this conversation now, don't you? And they say, yes. And I'll say, high emotions, low intelligence. Right now, you're steamed up. We're not going to get a good outcome here. So let's just go to our corners. Let's take a breather. Let's do what we need to do. And we can chat about it in 10 minutes, or we can chat about it tonight, or we can chat about it tomorrow over a milkshake. Let's give it some space. And then you breathe again. Will that work with every child every time? No, but I reckon it'll work with 95 to 99% of kids in most cases.
So I might be the only one, but I'm eager to know how this confrontation that you managed to curb ended.
She let me walk away and went to her room in a huff.
Did she mumble under her breath the whole way?
Yeah, that was her next invitation back in, because she likes to have the last word. That was her saying, if you're really serious, come on, let's do it. And I just let it go. So she went into her room and she sorted herself out, whatever way. We never talked about it again, because it was just one of those silly little minor irritations, and she got over it, and that was that. And if we had needed to talk about it again, I probably would have said something like, hey, that thing that happened last night, can I just check in? Are we okay? Is there anything we need to talk about? She'd probably say, no, we're fine. And I'd say, okay, next time it happens, how can we do it better? That would have been it. People keep on saying, well, kids need discipline. Discipline means teaching and guiding and instructing. And I think that's the best way to help them, is to give them time to calm down, let them know that we love them, and then solve for solutions when everyone's calm. So you don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. It's a non-compulsory invitation. The Happy Families
say no.
Just
say no.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Roulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides our additional admin support. For more info to make your family happier, find it at happyfamilies.com.au.